So, according to Governor Gavin Newsom's press office, California is officially one court ruling away from becoming the Wild Wild West. Not because of crime, not because of policy failure, not because of decades of bad leadership, no, because of gunslingers. No, I'm not joking. That's the word they chose. This wasn't a parody account. This wasn't satire. This was an official statement from the governor's office. Let me read this to you exactly as they wrote it, verbatim. California just got military troops with weapons of war off of the streets of our cities. But now Republican activists on the Ninth Circuit want to replace them with gunslingers and return to the days of the Wild Wild West. Gross. Gunslingers? Apparently, the moment a law-abiding adult can openly carry a firearm, California instantly time travels to 1873. Saloon doors fly open, a piano starts playing by itself, some guy named Wyatt Earp just spawns in downtown Los Angeles, and notice how clever this framing is. They didn't say citizens, they didn't say residents, they didn't say people exercising a constitutional right, they said gunslingers. Because fear sounds better than facts. But here's what actually happened. The Ninth Circuit looked at California's open carry ban and compared it to Bruen. You know, the Supreme Court case that actually sets the standard now, and they said this law doesn't pass. One of the judges, Lawrence Van Dyke, wrote something that sent Sacramento into full PR meltdown. Here's his exact quote, again, verbatim. The historical record makes unmistakably plain that open carry is part of this nation's history and tradition. Unmistakably plain. That's not politics, that's history. That's a judge saying this isn't controversial, you just don't like it. And here's where the irony kicks in. California has more gun control than any other state in the country. More restrictions, more bans, more common sense. And yet, according to FBI data, California led the nation in active shooter incidents from 2020 to 2024. So if gun control worked the way Gavin Newsom pretends it does, California should be the safest place on earth. Instead, we're being told the real threat isn't criminals, it isn't repeat offenders, it isn't violent felons, it's imaginary cowboys roaming the streets in slow motion. This isn't about public safety, this is about control, folks. So because you can't win on facts, you demonize the people, you smear the judges, and you hope nobody notices that your policies failed. That's what this is, not the Wild Wild West, just panic wrapped in a press release. And quick pause, because this is actually why this matters. This is the Keep America Tactical state-specific merch line. I'm wearing Keep Texas Tactical, but every state has its own version, including California. Your state's silhouette with an AR-15 in the center, representing your commitment to protecting the Second Amendment where you live. We have them in hats, shirts, hoodies, drinkware, all of it. I'm gonna put a link in the description section of this video so you can go and grab your state-specific Keep America Tactical gear at shop.mrcolionnoir.com. All right, now back to Gavin and the Wild Wild West fan fiction. Here's the really messed up part about all of this. Gavin Newsom doesn't want the federal government to come in and help him deal with the crime problem that is very clearly happening in California. He doesn't want that, but at the same time, he also doesn't want the citizens who are being victimized by the crime to be able to carry firearms to defend themselves. Think about how twisted that is. The policies aren't working, crime isn't getting better, people are suffering, and the answer is still no help from the feds and no tools for you either. So I have to ask you this question honestly. Do you really think Gavin Newsom gives two shits about you? Like, really, think about that for a second. Because his goal isn't, let's get all the help and all the necessary tools to make people safer. No, everything he does is predicated on one thing, control. The federal government stepping in, that takes control away from Gavin Newsom. People being armed, that takes control away from Gavin Newsom. And I know what some of you are thinking. How, Colion? How does people being armed take control away from Gavin Newsom? Oh, I'll show you. Thanks for asking. You see, when people start carrying firearms more readily, something changes. And no, not in that weird, creepy way where anti-gunners pretend the gun starts whispering to you and making you do crazy shit. I'm talking about real life, day-to-day life. Before you carry a firearm, your ability to protect yourself is kind of theoretical. You find yourself in a sketchy situation and your first thought is helplessness. You're like, shit, okay. Let me get my phone. Let me get 911 ready. Hopefully a cop shows up. Maybe someone can help me. It's panic. It's dependency. But when you're carrying a firearm and you find yourself in a threatening situation, especially when you're alone, it's a completely different mindset. It's calmer. All right, I've got a gun on me. I'm gonna mind my business, but if they try something, I can defend myself. I'm glad I have this on me because nobody's around and cops aren't getting here in time. Those are two completely different energies. One requires you to depend on the government, i.e. Gavin Newsom. The other forces you to realize something that terrifies politicians like him. I can protect myself. I don't have to depend on you. Your first thought isn't, let me call the cops who won't get there in time. Your first thought is, I've got this. And if things go south, I can defend myself. Then maybe, depending on how things go, you can call the cops. They become the second thought, not the first. And that's exactly what Gavin Newsom doesn't want you to do. He doesn't want you to change your mindset. He doesn't want you to change your thought process, because the moment you start carrying a firearm and realizing you can defend yourself, the next time he proposes a law that restricts that right, you're not voting for him anymore. And if you're not voting for him anymore, he doesn't have control over you. And then something else happens. You start looking at the rest of your life and thinking, well, what else can I handle on my own? What else don't I actually need the government for? Because if you can create the idea of government dependency in someone's mind, you also can create the belief that you need them, that you need this program, that you need that law, that you need that politician. But the government was never supposed to be something you depended on. The government was supposed to be added value to your life, not create the value, not be the source of value, not be the reason your life functions, but they need you to believe they create value, so you'll keep voting for them, keep empowering them, keep giving them the control they want. And once they have that control, they can manipulate the system. They can create government programs to fight gun violence, then siphon the money somewhere else and make themselves and their friends richer. We've seen this movie play out before. They did the same shit with homelessness. Give us billions to fix homelessness. And then what happens? They put their friends in charge of homelessness organizations, pay them $300,000 to $400,000 a year, and nothing gets fixed. Nothing. Because as long as the problem continues, they can keep justifying the programs. And as long as they can justify the programs, they can keep funneling money. Same scheme, different label. And it's no different with violence in California. As long as violence continues, they can justify stupid laws, stupid programs, and more power. Why do you think they keep making it easier and easier on criminals? They need the criminals to keep engaging in violence so they can keep justifying why they're doing what they're doing. That's the game. That's the scheme. And at some point, people are gonna have to wake up and realize this isn't incompetence. This is intentional. And that's why gunslingers scare Gavin Newsom more than criminals ever will. One thing's for certain and two things are for sure. Politicians and tech giants don't want gun content to be recommended to you. And we're all fighting this culture war together. Now, you can help do your part by liking, commenting, subscribing to the channel, but most importantly, sharing this video with at least one person. Together, we can stop the suppression of our 2A rights. And don't forget to click the link in the description section of this video for the products that I mentioned in this video.